Hey, it's Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com. It's the beginning of June 2023, and it's time for another garden tour brought to you by my sponsor, Vessi Seeds. Come have a look. All right, so here we are at the entrance of the garden, and this whole bed has got potatoes planted in it. I know I planted them about a month ago. Heavy mulch. They're just starting to poke through now in places, right? Just the odd one. Oh, we do not want that. Colt's foot. Anyway, got potatoes poking through the mulch, and just a matter of time before it's all filled in. We can see one just starting to come through here. Into the garden, I got Swiss chard. These were all started under a dome quite early in the season. These all have to be pulled up and distributed around this area, right? This is going to be like a little Swiss chard garden. I like Swiss chard a lot, but my family's not too crazy about it, so I don't grow a lot of it. I got Brussels sprouts here. You can see they're taking some serious damage from flea beetles, but I got so many of them that, you know, they will eventually toughen up and be able to take that, I assume. I've been hitting them periodically with an insecticidal soap. It almost seems like it's not doing any good. Anyway, yeah, the flea beetle damage is definitely real for all of my brassicas, really. But that's nothing new. Every season, every season that's a thing. And you know, some of them make it, some of them don't, and eventually they get big enough and strong enough to take it. Essential garden here, we got garlic coming up nice and strong. Another full bit of garlic over here. I don't know why, but these ones seem a bit thicker and a bit stronger than these. I'm going to assume it's better soil. That's the only assumption I can make. The bed that I did a video on where this was winter rye, and I turned the sod upside down and I smothered out the sod on either side. I planted peas down the middle, so the peas are already over a foot high now, and it's time to start planting potatoes down this side. You can see that the winter rye, as far as I can tell, is completely dead, right? That's a nice big worm right there. Hello. Good morning, worm. Anyway, it seems like we killed it. I can't see it being alive now. Initially, you could see it trying to grow its way out of the problem, right? It was pushing this up, and then I would just come along and stamp it down and added weights, and eventually it just stopped trying and expired. So it's time to plant my last potatoes down either side of these peas. I'll probably do that today or tomorrow. Over here I've got some sort of pak choy. I can't remember which one it is, but an Asian green, or thing you use in stir fries, or just as a cooked green. They're getting some flea beetle damage. You can see all the little holes, but they're doing okay. These ones seem to be growing a little faster, but again, they're riddled with that flea beetle damage. But that will sort itself out over time. Got some lovely winter savory growing over here. Bloody dock. Egyptian onions, French sorrel. Here we got some lettuce that I planted early in the season. It's doing pretty good. Just about ready for some early pickings. Spinach that was planted early, doing good. These Italian punto dandelion. I tried to pick off all the flowers because I don't want, you know, they're perennial, right? So I got all that I need. Anyway, I try to pick off all the flowers and just let the greens grow. But really from about this point of the year onward, because it's gone to flower, the greens aren't that tasty. Now, strangely enough, in fall, after a few good frosts, they start being tasty again. Over here I got something neat. I got to do a video on this, but I came up with a new idea for a kind of collapsible dome with a little hinge. So more on that later. Suffice it to say, I've got beans planted down the middle here. It's a garden where I've got beans down the middle, and I got spinach. Right, you can see the spinach here on either side. Right, as the beans get bigger, they'll put shade, and hopefully that will delay the bolting of the spinach. But as far as I can tell, just peeking through the hole there, I don't see that they've germinated. I popped one off the other day, and I was just digging around with my finger, and the seeds have sent their radicle down, and they should be up any day now. In this bed here, I've got cucumbers down the middle and dill on either side. You can see the cucumbers have have come up, right? So I've used a couple domes. This is 10 feet long, just to get germination happening and get things started. It's well ventilated. You can see there's a big space here, right? So well ventilated domes, but it makes a difference. I'll show you another bed where I planted zucchini and another one where I planted squash, all on the same day that I planted these, and they're not germinated yet because they haven't got the same heat dynamic. These are my tomato transplants that I had indoors. I've moved them outdoors. It's been about, I don't know, 8-9 Celsius every night. I moved a couple out first, and one of them just died. I don't know if it's going to come back. I really don't know. I see some viable growth, so that one might come back. This one, and this one were the first ones put out. You can see there's a bit of damage here, right? Because it was cold. I think there was a couple nights there where it got down to 5. It was all under the dome. So I don't know if the cold killed this one or if there was a night where, or a day where it got too hot. And one of them had a compromised stem. It was sort of a broken stem. And I just decided to give it a chance anyway. So I haven't given up on these. Yesterday, this was flopped right over, and now it's standing up. So it might have a chance. I don't know. I'll have to see what happens. But anyway, these are all those Amish paste tomatoes. I got a couple in this area here. I started directly from seed, although they've been really attacked. You can see it's like, I've never seen a tomato get attacked so much. But they are growing, so there's about 3 or 4 of them in this mess here. So I'm hoping that those can grow, and I want to see if they can catch up to the ones I planted at the beginning of April indoors. Anyway, so those are coming along fine. They haven't died yet, and it looks like we're past the last frost date. I think we're okay, so I'll let her go. Here I've got a little bit of weeding to do here and extra mulching to do, but parsnips that I planted right around the beginning of April, right, they're achieving some height, so they're doing okay. It's going to be a nice parsnip garden. This will have to be one more session once they get about 6 inches high, thinning and weeding. I always, have a hard time getting around to those chores, but it makes a huge difference if you can actually do it. And it's just a morning. Some morning I'll come out here at 5 a.m. and I'll invest about half an hour of my life, and then it'll make a huge difference. My parsnip, when they're thin properly, they'll be twice the size, right? It makes a big difference. It's worth investing your time. This bed here has got, let's go to the top. This bed here has got some weeds, but you can see there's kale. This is a kale bed, right? There's different kinds of kale, and there's also artwork broccolini here. So yeah, that's they're coming along good. There's a bit of pest damage, but it's funny, this one here, I mean, this is my own saved seed, okay, and you can see they've got some pest damage. Now these ones are, I think they're Prism. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, 2 of these rows are kale and 2 of these rows are broccoli. I can't remember which, but I would assume I'd plant the kale next to the other kale. That's just how my mind works. So these seem almost untouched, which means the insects like this one better. That's hard to understand. I got broccolini over here, but boy, they really like this. I mean, that's not slug damage. That is flea beetle damage. They're just shot, right? But anyway, I always plant more than I need, so hopefully, I'll have about 6 or 9, ideally, broccolini. Once they, once survival of the fittest decides who gets to live and who gets to die. Over here I got more parsnips and weeds, but parsnips here. Got this whole pile of leaves is potatoes, and you can see they're poking through the leaves now, right? So they're coming along good. The raspberries that I moved last fall seem to be doing fine, and my secondary fence, I got a fence that keeps the forest animals out of my garden, but they still get in sometimes. So I got a secondary fence around these raspberries because a rabbit usually cuts down, almost like a beaver, cuts down my raspberries every year. So this seems to be working all right. Now, last year was the first year I moved these, so I don't know, you know, I'm managing my expectations for this year's yield, but feeling good about the raspberries being here with this secondary fence. This whole bed has got peppers in it. I just moved them here last night. So these were ones I started indoors for transplants. You can see they got little flowers already. I don't know if that's... I've been picking the flowers off of them because I think I planted them too early. I planted these 1st of March indoors in a south-facing window. But I think they needed to be potted up. Because the pot that I had, the transplanting trays I had with them. See this eggplant over here. They're only two cubic inches. Right, so this is more than that, about 3.5 cubic inch. So yeah, I think they just got too big. Right, so they're all underneath this dome, and I got the dome here just so I can. The idea is that I can get things a bit heated up in here, because it's not. Well, it certainly isn't Mexico here. I always think you want your peppers to think they're in Mexico. I got to get a mulch on this, but I'll do that in a few days. I've got lots of mulch, so I'm just going to get around to that. Strawberries are coming up good over here. Over here I got an asparagus bed, but it's new and things have been moved. And yeah, asparagus really not coming in so strong. I've had the worst luck with asparagus. You know, now moving a bed's never good for anything, right? But I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But I think I'm going to plant some beans here just so it can be something in this garden. And the beans are always good for your soil. This was a weedy mess, so I covered it. I did a video on how I planted my squash in this garden. I use the same approach for this. So I just raked it level, smothered everything out. Now I'm starting to plug in these eggplant, right? So that's a chore for today. I got to get them all on the ground. But you can see these are, as you can see, I planted them at different stages, right? These really big ones were planted probably about 2 weeks earlier than these smaller ones. But I think I got enough eggplant for a decent garden. And I'm anticipating better success with my eggplant this year, because this is a nice, really sunny spot. It's a good spot. So I'm optimistic. My family, we love eggplant. Love it. Can't get enough of it. And it is not cheap in the grocery store. Over here I've got zucchini planted. I did a video on that, but they're not up. If you look underneath, there's all these stones, and every stone has 3 seeds planted around it. I planted them the same time as the cucumbers over there, but yeah, they just not come up yet. So maybe today, you know, or they're all dead. Who knows? Down here I've got carrots. They're really hard to see, but if you look closely, you can see that I've got rows of carrots. Right. I got another bed where I've got carrots, and they did not do so well because I mulched them, and the birds. I'll show you in a minute. But I had mulch. I got a row of carrots here, and I got a row of carrots here. Almost impossible to see. They're so small and so fine. I put mulch in between the rows of carrots in my other garden, and the birds would come along and nose through the mulch looking for worms and stuff, and they kicked the mulch on top of the carrots. And I thought they'd be fine with it, but I think it sort of smothered the carrots out. They're very fragile when they're young. So I'm going to have to do some you know, diagnostic and clinical work on that other garden. Let me show you. Okay, so this is a carrot garden, and initially the mulch was in these piles between the rows of carrots, and I've been monitoring it. So there's a carrot right there, and when initially I mulched this, there was a row of carrots, and now they've just disappeared, right? So there was all kinds of carrots here. Now there's none. There are hardly any. So what I think happened, the carrots are pretty good at shrugging off pests. But what I think happened was that the birds just pushed the mulch on top of the carrots. They got starved for sunlight. They got weakened in some way. And pests took them out. The birds didn't eat the carrots. Why would a bird eat a carrot? Right? Lots of people think birds eat their plants, but I've never really physically observed them eating any of my plants. Fruit, yeah, like, you know, grapes and blueberries and stuff like that, you know. Haskaps, especially haskaps, they love it. But really, I think it's just the activity of the birds messing the garden up that smothered out the carrots and caused me to pretty much lose. I mean, they would all be 2 inches high right now if it wasn't for that. So I shouldn't have mulched it. At least I shouldn't have mulched it with wood chips as early as I did. Maybe I should have just put strips of cardboard down between the rows, because the birds can't kick that around and move it, right? So that's a learning experience that I'll have to remember. For anything really small, really tender, really fragile, you know, not a good idea to get the mulch in there too early. So yeah, I'm gonna have to replant, I think, or plant something else. I can see carrots here and there, but there should be a lot of carrots. There should be strong rows of carrots, not, you know, 2 carrots every 4 feet. That's not what I want. Oh, I guess I didn't show over here. This bed here is beets. They're coming up great, right? I mulched these with just some leftover wood shavings, but they seem to be doing okay. There's a bit of pest damage and stuff like that, but that's totally fine, right? I'm not running a market garden here. I don't care. So yeah, the carrots are doing great, or these beets are doing great. Over here I got some romaine lettuce, really very thickly planted. So I'm gonna have to start pulling these and eating lots and lots of salad because they're too tightly packed in together, right? But I always overseed. It's just the way I do it. Pond, we had an incredible. I mean, for those that haven't been watching the news, we had an incredible wildfire not far from here, and then there was one day where there was fires everywhere, like just all over the place. Just different things were catching on fire all over the province. It was really kind of terrifying. Thankfully, it never made its way to the forest behind my house. And if it had, I would have lost my house. And actually, the reason I came out this morning when I did, you can see the sun doesn't appear to be up. But over there, that's south, northeast. I was looking out the office window this morning at 5 a.m. and well, 5:30, I guess, and I could see a red ball, a red sun, fully above the horizon, red sun, and a color like you wouldn't believe. And it's probably because of all the smoke and stuff, because there's still fires here, right? There's still a huge fire in Yarmouth that they still haven't got under control despite getting an insane amount of rain. Anyway, that's what got me out, because I wanted to capture it on film because it was such an amazing color of red. And it almost looked like there was a planet coming. It didn't look like a sun, it looked like a planet. Anyway, I didn't get it. By the time I got out here, it was behind clouds or something. Anyway, when it rained, it really rained. I think we got more rain in one day than we gotten in the previous 3 months. So it filled this pond up really well. Anytime there's a good rain, this pond just fills right up. Unfortunately, it's still the case that every time it fills up, all that water has a lot of mud and clay and stuff like that. So it was relatively clear, and now it's all muddy again. And I've been treating it every time it's muddy with pelletized gypsum, but I don't think I'm going to even bother this time. I'm just going to see what happens, because I'm just tired of having to treat it. It's got to just figure itself out. I don't know, I'll leave it for a month and see what happens. The fish don't care. They're fine. It's just harder to see and appreciate them, right? Because they're kind of invisible, but they're there. Trust me, they're there. And some people asking, oh, aren't you worried about your pond? You should test it. Maybe it's too acidic. No, the fish are all alive. They're all fine. You know, if I sneak out here in the evening, or no, not in the evening, in the afternoon, especially if I put out a little bread or something like that, they're all up, you know, poking away at things. They're all fine. Over here I've got a beet garden. These are coming in really good. They're probably going to need, they're going to need some thinning because they're a bit thickly planted, right? But these have come in just great. This is all squash. I put these little plastic things just to warm the soil up and help them get germinated. But as far as I can tell, there's no germination yet. But I expect that any day now, right? Because they should be up. Over here I got onions. I didn't plant a lot of onions this year. I should have had 2 beds of onions. And I've got plans for next year to sort of reorganize these beds, get a bit more out of the space. I think instead of having 3 beds oriented this way, I can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 beds oriented the other way. But, you know, anyway, that's a fall project. More garlic here, doing great. Strawberries have flowered. and we should be getting strawberries, I don't know, sometime in June. These are June bearer strawberries. My lingonberries are doing great. Need a little mulch here, but anyway, these are fine. The ones that I got from Whiffle Tree Farms. Highly recommend buying your berry bushes and fruit trees from them. The grape plant that I moved has survived. Right? So yeah, that's coming up okay. They got a little bit more trellis than grape. But I know this trellis will be filled eventually. So she's going to have 3 tiers, right? And it'll be filled. I am fully confident. Right? This will be a lovely grape trellis. A nice row of blueberries, and they've all bloomed, right? My most recent tree, this is a Liberty apple from Bessie Seeds, and I mean, it's new, so it's going to be a couple years before this turns into anything. Just put a couple sticks here so my kids wouldn't step on it and break it. Here we got the Haskap berries. They're starting to form. You see? Last year I waited 1 day too long to pick them and they all just vanished. Some birds really like them. I might have to cover them with some netting. These seem like the first berries that come out of the garden. They're the first to form. So I'm really not in like bushberry. I'm not thinking about bushberries when these form. You can see I've got a good number of them forming, right? These are 3 or 4 years old, right? So it's a nice, healthy bush, really healthy. We've got the lovage here. That's sort of, if you've never seen me talk about this before, it's kind of, it is a celery, kind of celery, tastes like celery flavor. So you just take a piece of that whenever you need celery. This is the pear tree that I moved last fall. Seems to have survived. Got another Haskap here, even bigger. Look at the size of this guy, right? Really coming in. Look at all those berries. Really coming in strong. This is Saskatoon. And this is the first year it's really started to berry out. I got another Saskatoon, I think, right, separate plant over here. It's really too close to the original one. I think I'll move it next fall. I'm sure I've got the room here. These gardening things, you just figure things out as you go along, right? This is a Haskap that I moved, I don't know, in April. So I can see it's getting some fruit development, but it's nowhere near as robust looking as the other ones because I pulled it out of the ground and moved it, right? My Sweet 16 apple tree. I got blossoms, but I don't expect to get any apples from this year because there's no other apple tree. Right? Last year I had 2 apple trees. When I did the big move and reorganized the entire garden, I basically killed one of my apple trees. It was too big to move and it was in the wrong place. So that's just how she goes sometimes. So, I mean, I have neighbors with apple trees. It's not impossible that this could get pollinated. Right? Got an apple tree, it has to be pollinated by a different type of apple tree. But I got so many blossoms. Like what a year, right? I would have got a lot of nice apples. But anyway, the tree will get bigger. It'll all work itself out in time. You got to be zen about these things. Here I am up on the hill, and I've got this little terraced bed. People were wondering about my French sorrel, if the deer are at it or anything. I think early on, in early spring, you could see a few nips on it. But I haven't seen anything since then. Because, the flower gets more bitter, especially once it goes to seed like this, right? But these are just fine. And I planted sunchokes up here last fall. And I believe this is sunchoke, right? There's another one over here. That's a nice sunny spot. Sunchokes like sun. I've had a tough time getting things to grow up here. And I just thought, this is the perfect place for a dedicated sunchoke bed because they'll grow anywhere. They like lots of sun. I think it's a perfect solution to my unproductive garden. I wanted to have pumpkins growing up here because they get so much sun. But there's something about either the way I've designed this or the location itself or something. I put good soil here. It's deep enough. Or maybe it's just I don't know. Maybe it's the way it loses. Maybe it doesn't hang on to water properly or maybe it gets too much water. I don't know. But I know the sunchokes will be just fine because they'll grow anywhere. Oh, one last thing I wanted to show you is that I'm playing around with an idea of a floating mint garden. You don't want mint in your garden because it just goes everywhere and you can't control it. But I thought if I could make a little floating box, I could just have it floating in the pond. It would give some extra shade to the fish. The mint would take up nutrients from the pond. It's growing really good, but I didn't make the box floaty enough. So it basically just sinks and it's completely waterlogged. And the mint will never survive like that. So I got to add some more flotation to it. But anyway, that's doing great. And I installed a little pump in here. So I got a little solar unit here. I'm going to do a video on this. I've done one. I just have to edit it. Got a solar unit here. It's connected to a pump that's in the bottom of the pond. The pump sends water up a tube. See these like logs strategically placed? They're hiding the tube. So the tube that goes all the way into those rocks. Okay, it goes into the rocks and it sends the water out, and the water trickles down. You can see there's staining here. See that staining? See how it's damp? Right, so the water comes out this little crack here. You know, there's not enough sun for it to run right now. But yeah, all day when it's sunny, there's a constant stream of water coming into the pond. So I've got some degree of circulation, which I think will be good. I might even install another one to come out the other side. It's just a question of when I get around to that. And for those that have noticed, I put a little bridge there. I don't know why, it just seemed like a nice thing to do. Again, it adds some shade. But I just, for some reason, I installed it so I could get at that unit. But then I realized, oh, why not just leave it there? It's kind of nice. Anyway, that's where we are, June 2023. It was touch and go there for about a week when we had those really, really bad and plentiful forest fires all over the place. There was days where I really did think I was going to lose it all, but it's okay now. Hopefully, people are more careful with their fires, and it doesn't happen again this season. But always a risk when you live next to a forest. Something to think about. But on the bright side, you get lots of space and you can have a huge garden, which I love. So I hope you found this interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Check out my podcast, maritimegardening.com. Check out my weekly column at maritimegardening.substack.com. And until next time, get out there, get at it. Have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching. Hey, if you want to help support everything I'm doing here, go to Veseys.com to buy whatever you need for your garden this year. Use my coupon code GAVS23 to get free shipping as long as there's a pack of seeds in the order and there's no oversized items in the order. Check out the description box of this video for details. You can buy everything you need from Veseys. They have seeds, fruit bushes and trees, soil amendments, pest solutions, tools, clothing, and lots of other stuff too. So yeah, if you want to help support everything I'm doing here and they sell something you need, buy it from them using my coupon code, and happy gardening.